people always ask, like, how can I be a professional dancer? What's the most important thing? And I'm like, as someone behind the table, I don't care if you're good because there's 1,000 great people out there. You can be the best dancer in the room. If you're not a nice person, I'm not working with you because I'd rather take another good person or a less good person or however you want to define that talent or that skill. I would
Mhm.
rather work with someone that shows up and is professional and is a good, kind person and human. That is what's going to make you a professional dancer.
I'm Caitlin, a former professional ballerina turned dance educator and career mentor, and this is the Brainy Ballerina podcast. I am here for the aspiring professional ballerina who wants to learn what it really takes to build a smart and sustainable career in the dance industry. I'm peeling back the curtain of the professional dance world with open and honest conversations about the realities of becoming a professional dancer. Come along to gain the knowledge and inspiration you need to succeed in a dance career on your terms. Hello and welcome to the Brainy Ballerina podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin Sloan, and I am joined today by Brandon Cournay. Brandon is a Brooklyn-based multi-hyphenate creative leader and the founder of Dance Device Lab, which is a platform that produces student-focused, interactive, and engaging dance workshops, conventions, seminars, and performance events for performing arts schools nationwide. Brandon, I have so many questions to ask you today about all of your experience, but I want to start at the beginning and hear, why did you take your very first dance class?
Yeah, hi. It's nice to be here, Caitlin. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat. Why did I take my first dance class? Well, it was kind of thrown upon me. I was doing a musical theater camp in school. I was in the fourth or fifth grade. It was an invite only musical theater camp, maybe like 30 kids. So I stayed after school. We did this musical. I was not inclined in any of that. It just was a thing that happened. And the choreographer for that came over to me, like, a couple weeks in. She was like, hey, I think you should come take dance class. And come to find out, she owned the dance studio down the road. So who knows if she saw a sort of like innate talent or interest or spark in me, or if she just wanted another boy at her dance studio or something. But it kind of fell. I had tried everything growing up. I cried my way through T-ball. I did all the sports. I can't swim. I like choke in the shower. Like I couldn't do anything. This kind of fell in my lap, and that experience, I did say yes. My mom did take me to take the all boys jazz class, at the dance studio in a small town in Michigan, and it snowballed into an entire life from there. So it's been a really fun journey.
Can you talk more about what your training was like growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up you would describe it as a competition studio, but it wasn't necessarily a competition studio. We were super not competition focused, but we lived in that world. We did a lot more dance conventions. I started in the recreational program. I went to a unique studio where I joke that my teacher wanted to get another boy over there, but we had about over 100 boys at my dance studio growing up
Wow.
in this little small town. Yeah. So it was a very safe and sort of welcoming experience to be a male dancer. And I didn't really realize that it was so not like that until, I got older. You would start connecting with other people. I took all boys classes because we had so many boys for a couple of years. And then I started getting serious and I took ballet. Then I joined the competition team and we started traveling to conventions. But we were a very performance based dance studio. We were trained in everything. We trained heavily in ballet and technique, tap, hip hop, ballroom, sort of like an idea of modern, not necessarily like a full technique in any way. We were really big into musical theater, strength and conditioning. So, we kind of had like a little like sampler platter of it all at my dance studio. And like I said, we were always going to conventions and we were always having guest teachers come to our studio. So we were like very, very versatile from the very beginning. We did like one dance of every style growing up. We weren't the studio that had like 7 contemporary lyrical dances. It was like you had your one a year and then you have your other things. So that was really instilled in us at a young age.
And you said you're from Michigan?
Yeah, I grew up outside of Detroit.
Okay, me too. I'm from Rochester Hills.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No way. Where are you there
Yeah.
now?
No, I'm in Wisconsin now. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
grew up in Walled Lake.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Did you ever go to ABT Detroit?
Yes.
I feel like we were there together.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That is crazy.
Like as you were
No
talking, I was like,
way.
wait a second.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I only did it once. So probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Good to see you.
I mean, like, there's only so many boys, so it's, like, easier to remember, but I was like, "I really feel like as you're
Oh,
talking
that's
before."
hilarious.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was me. And that was
Small
you.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so from high school, how did you make your way to Juilliard for college?
I was never a person or a dancer that had college on my mind. Like I said, we were very heavily musical theater. We were very performance based, and I wasn't thinking of going to school. I really wanted to like dance for Disney or dance on a cruise ship and do more commercial style work. And my dance teacher said, "You need to go to this audition." That's basically what happened. Her daughter had gone to the summer intensives at the Juilliard school for a couple years. I happened to be doing the Grand Prix, Youth America Grand Prix in Chicago my senior year, and it happened to be the same time Juilliard was having their Chicago auditions. And she was like, "You just need to go to this." And I was like, "Okay, I was very obedient, like, do what your dance teacher says." So I went, and you just audition. And, my mom was like, "I have no idea what we're doing here." It's like, "But you do your ballet class." I didn't get cut. Modern class, you didn't get cut. I did my solo, which was to Bon Jovi's It's My Life, the techno remix. Like, what was I thinking? Like, didn't get cut, had an interview. Like, it just was like, okay, this is weird. And in no world was I expecting A, to get in, B, to go. I had no college plan. This is the only school I auditioned for. And I mean that, and just like school was not on my radar. And then I got a call and I got in, and it's sort of like, well, you can't not go. My world really flipped upside down when that happened, and I was brought into a whole new world of dance that I didn't even know existed and didn't have access to growing up. I'm incredibly lucky and incredibly fortunate. I've turned the corner of being the person that like school is the most important thing for dancers to do, because I can't imagine what I would have been doing would have been fantastic and fulfilling, but I didn't even know what was possible until I went there. And I was really fortunate not only to go to school, but to go to a school like Juilliard, which was really a life-changing experience.
Can you elaborate more on that experience and how Juilliard prepared you for your professional career?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Juilliard prepared me for the concert version of my professional career. It is a training program where they train equally in ballet and modern contemporary dance. And what opened up for me, how my lens opened up, was I grew up dancing. Yeah, we did the ABT summer intensives. We had nuggets of technique, but I danced to songs with words and we danced at competition. So nothing was longer than 2.5 minutes. I didn't even know who Martha Graham was. I didn't know who Cunningham was. I couldn't name a dance company to save my life. I just didn't know any of that existed. So Juilliard, it was really hard for me for the first couple of years because I was really playing catch up. A lot of my classmates went to New World School of the Arts or UNCSA or Interlochen, and they were like conservatory kids and jumped right in, and they knew the Graham floor work by heart because they've been doing it since they were 12. And I was just like, why are we sitting on the floor for an hour? I have no idea what's going on. So it really was like a really abrupt adjustment for me. And once I kind of settled in, it took me about like 2 years to like get the fundamentals, to train my body and to like sort of reshape my scope of thinking and be able to like dive into the technique of it and dive into the artistry of it. And working with contemporary choreographers every year and making pieces that are 20 minutes long, and working with young creators and working with people from all over the country and the world and different demographics and creative lives before that. It really illuminated me to what dance can do and what art is. And my exposure really broadened beyond my little Walled Lake version of dance. And it was really
Mhm.
great. But I mean, in terms of preparing me for my career, all the commercial stuff I did, I actually like attest to my training growing up. My ballroom, my musical theater. I wouldn't have done the Radio City Christmas Spectacular coming out of Juilliard if I hadn't done all of my musical theater and jazz and all of that in high school. Juilliard really trained me for dancing for the Mark Morris Dance Group and Kegwin and Company and all those experiences. So when you kind of combine those, I look back and I see how fortunate I am to have that sort of plethora of training.
Yeah. From college, what was your transition like into your pro career? What was your very first paid job?
Yeah, actually, I like reverted back to my old self. I graduated college in 2009, which was, I think, similar to what we're approaching now, but the depths of a economic recession and really not great time, especially in the, we talk about nonprofits. And we had a really, really talented class that I graduated with. And I think three of us had a dance job. It was really hard to find work. I didn't grow up with money. I graduated and my parents were like, good luck out there. Like the second I graduated, June 1st, I needed to start making money. And I actually went back and assisted on a dance convention. I knew I didn't have anything lined up and I knew that was great money. And what I loved about it was I could work on the weekends and I'd have all week. I was able to pay my rent, and Monday through Thursday, I could do free workshops. I could be in studios with choreographers. I could be taking class. The hard part of when people move to New York is you realize you have to work, and then that creative time during the day, you can't really fit that in. And it's a really hard balance of trying to put those schedule puzzle pieces together. I was sort of like concert danced out a little bit too. I was like missing wearing my jazz shoes and like dancing hard and performing a bit. So going back to that convention world, it really scratched that itch for me and it solved like a financial logistical thing. And it was really a great choice. Actually, like a lot of people do it now. A lot of like college kids are out on the competition circuit doing the assisting, doing the judging. And when I did it, it was like not a thing. And it was like a
Yeah.
really great experience to go back. After that, things changed and the economy recovered. And I started dancing with a choreographer, Larry Kegwin, who I met at Juilliard. He had choreographed a dance my senior year on my class. It was that New Yorky freelance experience of like, hey, I need a dancer. I need to hire a few more. I loved working with you. Do you want to do this one project? And then that turned into 8 years of a career and it all kind of just flowed nicely.
What are your tips for dancers who are pursuing more of a freelance career like that? What would you say to a dancer who's starting out in that area?
To be a successful freelancer, you really have to be versatile and you really have to be a good class taker. I'd say, yes, the Mark Morris Dance Group sometimes, Paul Taylor sometimes. Some of these larger dance companies do have auditions, but the majority of freelance work is really, I like, don't love the word, but best way to describe it of like networking. It is building connections and building human connections with people. I think there's such a intimidation of someone leading a room and someone in a class. And the thing to remember is everyone is just human and it's energetic and it's creative and it's cyclical. And my biggest thing is to be versatile and to take class. You're going to get more jobs, more opportunities, meet more people, whether someone's taking class with you, whether they're leading the room, whether they're walking by the studio and observing because they're in the next class. The community is a network and you never really know where your next opportunity, next thing is going to come from. And just being in the world is my best advice for freelancers. No one knows you're out there if you're not out there.
Yeah. Having built this really diverse career, how did you decide when it was time to take different jobs? How did you kind of bounce around? Was that like fulfilling to you to be able to do all the different kinds of work that you had trained in?
It's been incredibly fulfilling. Yeah, it's been the most rewarding thing of my entire career. I didn't intentionally make those decisions. My sort of like internal creative barometer did. It was sort of like from my heart and not my head. I kind of just took what was in front of me a lot. This opportunity with Kegwin and Company came up and I started dancing with them, but that was very part-time and very freelance. So I was able to go off and do a little commercial here and there or do an industrial and be in the theater world. So for about like 8 years of my career, I had kind of been able to like make them both work. The one thing that I did consciously not do is I started dancing with Mark Morris right out of college. He has two big works that require more people than are in the company. So they hire in supplementary dancers, the Hard Nut and L'Allegro. And I had started doing those out of college. I had done one of Mark's pieces my senior year, Gloria, and that kind of led me to start dancing with him. But I started dancing with him in 2010 and I didn't join full time until 2017. Done these things on and off. He'd had multiple auditions. There was like a good vibe. And the one sort of decision I made was to not dance full time until 2017 when I turned 29, 30 and I was looking for like a little more stability. And that sort of freelance hustle was really wearing on me. But I knew, I'm just going to say like roughly during my 20s that I was really fueled by doing many things and being able to piece those things together. And I knew if I had an opportunity to dance full time, I would have to commit to that for my career. And I wasn't ready for that. I really wanted to do the commercial work, the TV work, the concert work, the teaching work. I can only attest that too from the way I was trained and the way that I experienced all these pieces throughout my journey up until that point. It was like I'd always done a lot, and I was always curious to sort of do a little bit professionally and like have that amalgam of experiences.
What has been one of the big highlights of your time as a performer?
I will say dancing marks Allegro. It's really a masterwork in the defining sense of that word. It is a life-changing experience for the audience. You know, it's 26 dancers, it's a full orchestra, it's a 2 hour long show. It's this feeling of being a part of something that's bigger than you. And I got to perform that so many times in Madrid and California and all over the world. And that had been sort of like a really career defining moment. And I encourage everybody to check it out.
Let's pause this episode so I can tell you about one of my favorite resources for dancers, Ballet Help Desk. If you've been loving the Brainy Ballerina podcast, you'll want to add the Ballet Help Desk pod to your list. This is the premier podcast for dance parents, and hosts Brett and Jenny share weekly expert insights on supporting your students' ballet education. They cover key topics like summer intensives, ballet competitions, full-time and post-grad training, health and wellness, boys in ballet, and more to help your dancer make the most informed decisions about their unique training path. Another one of my favorite resources from Ballet Help Desk is their reviews. Head to their website for over 1,400 reviews on summer intensives and year-round training programs. And while you're at it, submit your review to help other dancers and their families make important decisions about their future. The more transparency in the dance world, the better. Head to the show notes to visit the Ballet Help Desk website today. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about Dance Device Lab.
Yeah.
What is the mission of the company and how did it all get started?
Dance Device Lab is a company I started in 2017, and we produce in-studio events nationwide. So we do in-studio conventions. We pair you with incredibly experienced and interested guest teachers, and we do our signature event, our adjudication showcase, which is like an interactive style in-studio competition event where you get interactive feedback with your judges or adjudicators. And the mission is to give dancers the tools that are valuable inside and outside of the studio. We are not a company that comes in and only wants to work with the 2-star dancers at your studio. We truly feel that we need to empower everybody in the room, that everybody is there to dance. Everybody can find success and brilliance in what they're doing in the room. And part of that comes from, I also work in nonprofit management. I'm an executive director of a dance company. And I find that so many people stop dancing after high school. They're just not interested in it. And you know what? They stop dancing, but then they also don't go see shows. They don't go see the national tour when it's in your hometown. They don't go see Ailey or a company that's visiting. And I'm like, well, why is that? And part of me is like, probably because you're a little burnt out. I had like a weird experience in this competitive nature that we define dance as. So part of Dance Device Lab's mission is to empower everybody to be their best creative selves, no matter where that takes you when you're done outside of the studio. So if you're going to go be a doctor, I want to implore you and give you some tools and nuggets in the studio that you can think about how that's going to relate to something you do later. You know, we play composition games and we take creative ideas from the room and infuse them into our work. So it's more than just coming in and teaching combos. It's really bringing all of this creative energy and these tools that all of our faculty have accumulated and sharing them with your dancers and just planting little seeds and letting them grow within your studio and grow within these dancers. And it's been incredibly rewarding to share these ideas. It's basically what I didn't have growing up. And I'm trying to connect those dots for those dancers. Just like, I don't need to come in and teach you an entire Cunningham class, but like maybe when you're 12 and we just throw in some of these ideas of like canon, don't face the front. We're going to do a whole phrase facing different ways. you're exposed to that. And then you run with it. The teachers run with it for the years and they get a different experience than they have access to where they are.
I kind of want to go back to something you said about going to see performances, which is a little bit off on a tangent, but
Yeah,
that really stood out to me because I had a similar experience like you're describing of when I retired from dancing, I really didn't want to step foot in a theater. It was too hard for a while. And so I didn't really go see a lot of shows. And this year, I finally, how many years out is it? 7 years later, I finally am like, okay, I am craving live theater. And I made it my goal this year to see 12 live shows. Like
amazing.
anything, could be
Yeah.
anything, comedy, dance, whatever. It's just reinvigorated me and really made my passion for dance come back alive because I was feeling a little bit burnt out on it. And I totally agree that when you're right out of it, sometimes it can feel just too raw, hard to go in the theater. But I would encourage anybody out there who is either currently dancing or maybe has taken a step back, go see a performance. And if dance is too hard, go see musical theater or go see something outside of the genre that you may be trained in. And it will really just awaken something in you that you might not have known was a little bit dormant.
Yeah, it's a hard thing is dancers were incredibly empathetic. So when you're seeing a show, your muscle memory is, I mean, that's science. You see something, you envision something, your actual like neurons in your muscle are firing, right? Like you're relating to that thing on stage. So that makes total sense, especially coming from dance. You can only see yourself doing that dance. But I tell every single person I come across who asks me, what do I need to be a good dancer? What do I need to be a professional? And it's actually be interested in things outside of the studio. Go to your local art gallery, make art, learn about lighting design, read a book, do something outside of dance. The more interested you are outside of the studio, the more interesting you will be in the studio. As dancers, and especially younger dancers, you know, in your training era through high school and even through college, you are so in your body. Dancers can be a little bit selfish or insanely self aware that you can't get out of your body and your scope is really, really narrow. And the more that you can get outside of the studio and see all the art around you and all the creative genres and disciplines around you, if you bring that into into the studio, that will only make you a better creative while you're working in the studio. Go see anything and everything.
As a nonprofit leader, do you have any tips for companies? A lot of companies are really feeling this hit right now financially, and we are trying to pull audiences in, and it's hard. What are some of the strategies that you use?
One thing I've done is I've really shifted our financing and forecasting model to be incredibly pragmatic and realistic. I'm no longer being optimistic. You know, you can see the cuts from the NEA from this disastrous administration. I'm always reminding people that the arts are small businesses. You can think that you don't deserve it or that that money isn't needed, but if you want to uplift small businesses, you have to uplift these dance companies and the ecosystem of entertainment and hospitality that go along with it. That $30,000 that gets cut out of nowhere was money that was already spent. If you're managing something and that NEA grant got cut, well, that $30,000 got cut. And then you have to think about, well, if the show gets canceled, how many restaurants are going to be affected? How many hotels are going to be affected? How many costume designers and contractors are going to be affected? Like it's an entire ecosystem that no one necessarily thinks about in those sort of headlining moments. So that's my soapbox of like general where the nonprofit sector is. But
Yeah.
to remedy that, I really think people are interested in experiences. It's really hard for people to get into the theater for a myriad of reasons. It's a hard sell. I think money is tight, discretionary spending is down, the value of it is shifting and people want more than just to go sit in a dark room for 2 hours. Society changed, right? Like people don't even go to the movies anymore. So how are
Yeah.
we going to get people to go into the theaters? And I think that's creating experience. I think that's creating pre-show events, post-show events. People want something to do that is tangible and that is active and that is interactive. And typically in the nonprofit world, we've been like, okay, we'll go see a show. And then for 45 minutes after, we'll have some cheap wine and you can meet the dancers that actually are like really, really tired and aren't getting paid to be here and like want to go home. And we're just kind of like making them do this thing just to say we did something. And I think we
Mhm.
have to shift our programming and think about how can we make these curatorial and artistic decisions that are illuminating for the audience. So I talk about go see other genres. Like, well, yeah, maybe there is a local gallerist that you could partner with to do an art exhibition in the lobby, or maybe make a sort of two-stop experience. Maybe like part one of the event is going to this gallery. You're supporting your local businesses, and then that relates to the show that you're seeing. San Francisco Ballet. Tamara Rojo did an incredible job with this new Azure Barton work that was all based around AI. And she commissioned new artists, got Google and tech companies involved, a commissioned score. She made this new evening length that was very apropos of her city and her town, but she made it this event. It really worked because it was more than just seeing a show. And I think we have to think beyond the studio, beyond the theater, beyond the Nutcracker. And it's like, how are we taking that out into communities, and how are we making things more relevant, and then getting more income, more earned income from that instead of contributed income.
I love that. I say this all the time. I mean, as a mom of two small kids, for me to go see a show, it's a bigger commitment than me just walking out my door and going to see a show, right? I have to organize a babysitter, and it's like maybe my only date night with my husband for 2 months. So we
Hmm.
want to make a whole experience. So even like you said before, it's affecting restaurants. Could you partner with a restaurant and do a cool menu like for that night for the performance, and then you have this partnership and you're mutually beneficial because you're both advertising for each other. You said exactly, people want a full experience, they want a full night out, they want it to be a little bit special, like see and be seen kind of thing. You want to make it the place to be seen, like, oh, you were at the ballet, that's really cool.
Yeah. And to your point, how are we thinking about what audiences want and need? And, I don't run a venue, I run a dance company. So I am
Mhm.
beholden to venues for this, but I'm always trying to get presenters to think about this of like, yeah, you know what? Is there childcare support? Is there a
Mhm.
grant in your state where you could subsidize babysitting so mothers of young children can go, or can you build that into your ticket pricing and just say everyone's going to pay $5 more? We are going to offer like 10 moms that come to this show subsidized childcare, or I don't know, like we have to think like that a little bit more instead of come to our thing and see our dance because we think it's cool. It's like, it's not, it's transactional. And
Yeah.
I hate saying this, but like dance isn't that important. It's not. The community is important. The act of dancing and the viewing of it, you're not curing cancer. What it does is it brings people together. It unites. It gets many people in a room having one live shared experience with the artists on stage, with the creatives, with the audience, with the crew. That's what's important. It's not the act of it. We have to get back to like why theater is theater. It's an act of community.
Yeah. Okay. I want to go back to Dance Advice Lab. I just
Yeah.
really,
No,
I love all
good.
your points on that. I say those things all the time, and I'm totally on the same page as you.
Yeah.
So thinking about Dance Advice Lab, you touched on this, but can you just elaborate more on your teaching philosophy and some of the qualities you're hoping to instill in the students you teach beyond their technique?
My teaching philosophy is to have an effect on everyone in a room. So I make it a mission to look everybody in the eye. If you're in a circle thanking everybody after class, I'm looking each of you in the eye. I'm making sure that I'm engaging with every single person in the room at all times. We were just talking about community. I want to like broaden dancers' perspective of being aware of other people in the room. I often say when I teach company class or open class here, the thing that I miss about dancing is daily company class. Like I miss the 90 minutes where like I don't have a phone, I don't know what's going on in the world, no one can get a hold of me. That's sort of my like meditative space. I didn't realize how special and unique that was until I stopped dancing because I'd been doing that my whole life. And it was like the second I didn't have that hour and a half in a day, I just like it's like everything's always on. And I want
Mhm.
to like empower dancers that the people that you're with, the music that you're dancing to, this sort of group communal experience is really, really special to help them like not be so in their bodies, but to like broaden and look around the room and dance with people and dance as a group. I often play this game that I make people pick a buddy. And I'm just like, pick a buddy that you don't know that isn't your duet partner. Or if I'm teaching at a big dance convention, I do this every single time. So find someone you don't know, not from your studio. And they're like freaking out, and they introduce each other. And I'm just like, all right, we're going to do the combo. You're going to dance, you're going to watch. And when you're done, you're going to give them two compliments. And the compliments need to be in full sentences and they need to be very descriptive. It's not just like, you had good pointed toes. It's like, find a qualitative and a quantitative thing and like tell the stranger something that you loved about their dancing. That's the mission. right? Because then they're going to go connect with each other on TikTok, and then their community is going to expand and they're going to make friends. It's so hard to get outside of your sphere and your orbit. That is the mission of my teaching, whether it's an open class for professional dancers or 5 year olds in the mini room. It's about dancing with people and building community and looking around and enjoying the group aspect of it.
And you're taking away that almost cutthroat competitive aspect of dancing where it's like, I'm trying to be better than you because there's that idea that there's only so many jobs and we're all competing against each other. And it's, hey, actually, we're a community and we're all in this together and let's all rise up together.
That's right. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people I've met along my journey that I didn't know I'd meet 10 years later. I mean, look at us. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, this is like a prime example. And
Yeah.
people always ask, like, how can I be a professional dancer? What's the most important thing? And I'm like, as someone behind the table, I don't care if you're good because there's 1,000 great people out there. You can be the best dancer in the room. If you're not a nice person, I'm not working with you because I'd rather take another good person or a less good person, or however you want to define that talent or that skill. So much of dancing, you tell dancers in studios, you think about your recital. Your recital or your year end show is like 3% of the time that you spend with these dancers all year, right? You're going to competition, you're in the class, you're in the dressing rooms, you're in the car. It's the same thing being a professional dancer. It's a very, very tiny amount of time that you're actually on stage performing. But especially when you're in a touring dance company, guess what? You get to the airport at 10 a.m. and your flight's canceled, and you still have to make it to the show. So the company manager is putting you on a flight to St. Louis, then you got to take an 8 hour bus, and then you're tired, and then you have to be in the theater in 6 hours. Are you going to be the person that brings the entire group down because you're grouchy about your travel delay? That is the person that I will not work with and I will not hire. I would
Mm-hmm.
rather work with someone that shows up and is professional and is a good, kind person and human. That is what's going to make you a professional dancer, being professional, not doing 1,000 pirouettes. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really the most important part. And to your point of it being like really competitive, it's really hard to not think about that because dance is innately, I need to get better. I take this class, it's scaffolding, right? You're always obtaining that goal, and we lose that perception of everything around us when we're like in that zone.
Let's quickly pause this episode so I can share with you one of my favorite snacks that I have been loving lately. As a busy dancer, educator, and mom, I am always looking for a snack that I can throw into my dance bag that will be quick, convenient, and provide lasting energy. That's why I was so excited to find Aloha protein bars. Aloha bars give me everything I need with 14 grams of plant based protein and 10 grams of fiber. I can count on this snack to keep me going. Plus, they are delicious. My favorite flavors are the coconut chocolate almond and the lemon cashew. But honestly, you cannot go wrong. These products are vegan, gluten free, and certified organic. And the best news is you can get 20% off your first order with code Brainy Ballerina. Head to the show notes and click the link to try Aloha protein bars for yourself today. What's exciting you the most about this next generation of dancers?
This next generation of dancers is really interesting because they have so much access to things. So, the problem I'm trying to solve with Dance Device Lab, they can solve themselves in theory by having YouTube. I didn't even know where to start looking up Netherlands dance theater when I was in middle school
Yeah.
or high school. Like, I didn't even know that existed. We didn't have access to it. You'd have
Mm-mm.
to read a book. But
Yeah.
they have access, they have YouTube, they have TikTok. Their perception and access is broader. They need something like Dance Device Lab or someone who has that experience to really teach it. Dance is an oral tradition, so you can't learn it off screen. That is TikTok, right? It's like learning a dance on a screen. There's not artistry in it. It's plug and play, right? So it's like, to get the richness
Mm-hmm.
of it, it is an oral experience and it is a tangible experience. I'm excited for them because they're leaps and bounds ahead of what's possible. They also are this sort of like trend in like hypermobility and technique. Is I have some issues with it, but it is interesting thinking about how facility is no longer a barrier right? It's like I'm seeing these young dancers now and they can do things that I couldn't even imagine. I don't know if you should be doing all of those things, but when I grew up, I just was like trying to get the left splits. I just wanted like my sides even, and it's not that anymore. And I'm curious to see or know once that stops, once you achieve whatever goal you're trying to achieve there, can you switch into your artistry? Can you be an artist sooner because you've checked those boxes that we deem appropriate for X line at a dance competition? Like your arabesque is as high as
Mhm.
it's going to go. Did you get that at 12? Then what do you do with it? And I'm feel like we're at a crossroads with that because it's getting a little gymnasticsy, but maybe once you get there, then we do get a dive deeper into all of that nuance. I'm curious to see what that changes.
I'm with you. I am kind of struggling with that because I do feel like students are really wanting to get those things. And I remember that as a young dancer too, like wanting to do all those things, but
Yeah.
in a very different way. Like you said, it wasn't as much about the crazy tricks. It was more about like I wanted my technique to be really, really clean to the detriment of my artistry.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different, but similar. But I see this with my own kids, like that they are just growing up in a very different world than we did. And it's hard for them. As a parent, I have to be so conscious of like if we need something, my son will be like, just order it on Amazon. It'll be
Yeah.
here in 4 hours. You know what I mean? It's like that is just a world that he's growing up in. My son, he's 5 years old and he was having a lot of emotional dysregulation lately, like really just having a hard time coping with anything. Any inconvenience was like a huge meltdown. It was like the world
Yeah.
was ending. And for a while, he'd been doing some games on his tablet every day for like half an hour because we had a baby and then we were trying to in survival mode and then
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Of course.
became a habit, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was like, I think we need to stop doing that. Within days, he was like back to his normal self,
Whoa.
regulated, back to like this sweet kid that I like because I was saying to my husband, I was like, this isn't the kid that we know. Like, what is going
Yeah.
on? And
Yeah.
it was wild to me, and it just kind of drove home the point that, like, screen time, all these things for parents, like, is such a tool that, like, sometimes you do employ it, but it really proved to me that, like, kids' brains and even up to teens, you know, I mean, your prefrontal cortex is not fully formed till you're, what, 25? Their brains are not equipped to deal with this, with social media, with all of this kind of instant gratification that we have in our world. And as teachers, it's hard to bring them back to be like, let's get back to the basics and let's work on this one tendu for 15 minutes because that's not the world they're living in.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really interesting. And I'm glad that sort of shift has happened. And,
Yeah.
you think about it in technique and, like what's happening now is injurious. So many teenagers have had labral tears and ankle things. And I just am like, you are way too young for that. And what is it?
Yeah.
That sort of instant stretching. And like, it's just like, it's not training. And it doesn't do good in the long run. I'm not a regular teacher. So I can't come in and impart that. I can't give that opinion because I'm not the one that's working with you every week. I can say it to you on this podcast and like loud and
Yeah.
clear, like, don't put them in the oversplits on the yoga block. But like, it's the world we're living in.
Yeah.
I have a hard rule in my classes at Dance Device Lab events, and I may be seen as like a curmudgeon for it, but 5 minutes before class and 5 minutes after class, I want you off your phone.
Mhm.
I don't want you sitting on your phone and then just like running into class. I bring them in 5 minutes before, so they have to sit down and they have to talk to each other. And then
Mhm.
5 minutes after class, I make them write stuff down. I like old school in that way because I've showed up as just like guest teaching or choreography is like phone down, and you just walk in and you're like ready to warm up. And it's like that transition time is really real. Like phone, mind, body, neurons. What am I doing? Like that presence is really important. And we don't allot enough time for it to get into your sort of physical and mental space. And I think we as teachers need to help dancers if we can't do it, the granular level of like house rules or how, you want to parent, we have a bit of a responsibility to train them and educate them that that transition period is really, really, really important and let them know why and let
Yeah.
them feel the difference.
Because it truly is a dopamine like crash when you get off of your phone and then you're spending the first 15 minutes of your class trying to regulate yourself and then all of a sudden you're doing harder things and your brain's not caught up.
Yeah, I mean, I even have a rule with parents when I do guest choreography. It's remarkable to me. You come in, you're seeing a dance that has been made on your dancer for the first time, and everybody just phone. and they're watching the dance through their phone, and they're my age, right? I understand. I always say, like, we're going to run it twice. We will run this twice. You will have your opportunity so that your dancer can see it, so they can improve. I understand the tools behind all of that, but like, this is live. This goes back to like creating a live experience, and this is a live moment. This has never been seen before. This is the first time you're going to see this of a million times this year. Just watch it with your eyes. Just like be in the
Yeah.
room. And it makes, not only for the teaching a little bit of a lesson to the parents, but it's also like about live theater, but it's also for the dancers. The second you put a camera in front of somebody, I don't care if they're doing TikTok 1,000 times a day, it's a performance. You're doing it to be projected somewhere. So they come in, they're nervous. They've done this dance once or twice, like it's brand new. And then you have 30 phones in front of you that you know is going to go. They do it completely differently, and you lose all of that magic that you've been able to build over, like, 2 days of making a new work or something in 1 second, because everyone just like has to have their phone out. So it's like, that's a steadfast rule I have of like, the first time everybody in the room just gets, just you just watch it. You just watch it, and it's great.
I love that. And I think that is a really good point because we preach to our students a lot. It's okay to mess up, it's okay to fail. Like, you have to fail to grow. But then when you have someone filming you, you don't always feel like that because you're like, this is going to live forever. I have to be absolutely perfect. And it puts so much more pressure. You're so
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Or the conventions, it's fine. I get it. I'm a business owner. I understand marketing, and, you need to do that. We do it at Dance Device Lab events, but I'm like steadfast on not doing the calling out three people and doing a video. We'll do the big group. We will do it for archival and continuity, but we are not a phone video company where we come in and just like document your dancers to promote in ways. Like I've been saying, like my teaching philosophy, like that class moment is like super, super sacred. It's important that we keep it insular to that community and enhance the community that's in the room.
Are there any new projects or goals that you're working on?
Well, we are in our big marketing push for our adjudication showcases. We've launched that for our 2026 season, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, our adjudication showcase is an interactive competition style event. So taking my teaching philosophy we've been talking about, putting it, I was a rehearsal director and associate choreographer for a really long time, piecing that in together into giving feedback to competition students. So you'll perform your dance either on stage or in a studio, and then you'll get like a 10 to 20-minute slot, depending on the size of the dance, where your adjudicators are up on our feet and actively rehearsing with you. You hear, stretch your back leg at a competition tape. Like, we're working with you with therabands and teaching you and giving you new tools and like tangibly teaching our feedback for all of your competition dances. And that is our really exciting program we have. I'm also working on launching a couple mentoring programs, particularly around for new dancers who have arrived in New York, and how to navigate your freelance career, and pre-college mentoring for parents and students. I find that I travel across the country, and so many parents come up to me like, my daughter wants to be on Broadway. How does she get into Juilliard? And it's like, oh, that's the right there. Like, we gotta undo a lot, and it's like, that's not necessarily the right school for your dancer if they want to be on Broadway. And I think
Yeah.
your parent doesn't know because they're a dentist. So, trying to connect those dots a little bit more. And with Dance Device Lab, we've had studios that have booked with us multiple events since the beginning. We have like really, really like deep, tangible relationships with them. There are studios where we come in and show up and leave, but we've really nurtured these relationships over the years. And it's now in a place where we're thinking about how our programming can be a little bit more year round, instead of coming in once or twice and having your hours with them. I feel a bit like a studio owner does when kids are graduating now. It's just like, oh my gosh, I've known you since you were so young, and we're a part of that journey and we're proud of it. And it's like, well, how do we help them more? And how do we help studio owners more? They get fielded these questions, and they're running their small business, and they have multiple, it's like, so how can we be a resource for not only the kids, but the entire ecosystem? I really believe, I grew up at a small dance studio. They're the bedrock of the entire, you can be Misty Copeland, you can be me, you can be anybody. Everyone grew up at a Miss so-and-so's somewhere. And that's the entire dance industry, is local dance studios. And how can we support those business owners and teachers?
Are you taking your events, are they just in the New York area or do you go all over?
All over. Yeah, we're
Okay,
nationwide. Yeah.
amazing. Okay, last question. What advice would you give to dancers who are pursuing their professional career?
Yeah, I would say, I think we've touched on it a little bit all throughout this conversation, but be as versatile as possible, be a good human, and be interested in things outside of the studio. And tangibly, I would also say you need to be a dancer and something else. Being a dancer is not a full-time job. There's maybe a few, I would say 20 companies in the country that you can make a livable wage just dancing. And that is like the 0.1% of opportunities. You're going to be a dancer. And if you make it on Broadway, hooray, you're making good money for the time that you're working, but your show may close at any given time, or you may get injured, or a global pandemic may happen. You never really know. And dance is not a full time job. And when it is, it's still not a lucrative job. So it's hard for people to hear, but you need to be a dancer and something else. If you're interested in numbers, learn how to do QuickBooks. I am always hiring someone to like help with bookkeeping. If you like travel, learn to be a company manager. If you like sewing, make scarves, work in wardrobe. There are so many dance and creative adjacent things that you can do. You know, I was interested in business. I'm an executive director. I started my own business. Just dancing will not be enough to fuel you creatively, fill your wallet, and fuel your schedule. So you need to take the time to figure out how you can also be creative and fill those pieces of that puzzle together and make something interesting for yourself, because so many people think about it too late and then you like do a hard pivot. You're a dancer and something else that you're just like, how did I find myself here? I just need to make money, or I have all summer free and I'm doing this. There are so many ways to relate that interest to dance, but when you're young, you're so focused on dance that you kind of push all those other things aside. And I think it's really important to nurture that so you can sort of build a holistic life that rewards you as much as dance does. Because it's the hardest thing, is like, we love dance so much and it means so much to us. I mean, that's something I've struggled with, is not dancing anymore, finding a new career that I like, well, I don't like anything as much as I did when I was dancing. And I was really good at like that sort of thing is really hard to replicate. And, you know, I've been able to find ways that sort of feed in and tap into that in instances. And I'm thankful for that. And I encourage all young dancers to tap into that sooner because it's really important. Take the other college class, just do it.
Yeah, and if for no other reason than maybe just to find out what you do and don't like. Like I was in college and I was double majoring in exercise science and dance, thinking I wanted to be a PT, and then I started taking organic chemistry and I was like, no way. This isn't for me. You know? So
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
and I always thought that I would take that path because I am so interested in that, but just not in that capacity. And
Yeah.
yeah, you have
Yeah.
to find out. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. Absolutely. Put that on a t-shirt. You don't know
Yeah.
what you don't know. Yeah. And it's important to know. It's important to experience, and it'll only make you a better dancer.
Okay, for anyone listening who wants to learn more about Dance Device Lab or about your work, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can visit dancedevicelab.com for check us out on our website, or at Dance Device Lab on Instagram. You can also check out my personal website, which is my name, brandoncournay.com. And we look forward to staying in touch.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this, Brandon. This was so fun, and I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was great.
Thank you for tuning in to the Brainy Ballerina podcast. If you found this episode insightful, entertaining, or maybe a bit of both, I would so appreciate you taking a moment to leave a rating and hit subscribe. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll join our community of dancers passionate about building a smart and sustainable career in the dance industry. Plus, your ratings help others discover the show too. I'll be back with a new episode next week. In the meantime, be sure to follow along on Instagram at The Brainy Ballerina for your daily dose of dance career guidance.